Hi there. Welcome to Venice Beach, the veritable edge of Western civilization. Today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2014. And this is show number 86. And it is an epically beautiful day today. Very quiet, serene, perfection. Yep. And today is the anniversary of when my friend Kelly Phipps was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Yep. And I think it's, I have two friends that have birthdays right about now. They're probably not watching this because they don't have enough time in their lives for the internet. So one's become a midwife, and the other has run away to the jungle. So there seems to be a bit of a theme today. There was a young woman here earlier who was talking about she's been getting the call to go live in Bali and heal. So it's like, do it if you can, I guess. Well, looking at this piece we finished yesterday, and besides wanting to just show off some more, I figured I would put some stars in there. What do we got? Here's that. Past couple of days I've been working on this. Let's see, we have 87%. It's 507 on the west coast of North America. Past couple of days after I pack up here, I've been going to the internet cafe and working on the book version of the sequel to my Emergence movie. And I love doing this research on the one hand, but some of what the research is revealing is kind of disturbing. Essentially, I'll give you a little bit. According to the Hopi tradition, you've probably heard me, forgive me if you've heard this part before. According to the Hopi tradition, as shared in what's known as the Book of the Hopi, published by Viking Press in 1960-61, written by this brother named Frank Waters, who lived with the Hopi for 3 years in Hopi land and interviewed some 30 or so Hopi elders. According to them, their oral tradition goes back through 3 previous world destructions, or what they call purifications, where the nephew of the Great Spirit you know, essentially destroyed or purified the world 3 times previously. The first by fire, the second by ice, and the third time by flood. And, you know, each time those who remember to keep the tops of their heads open to the rest of the universe were told to go to a certain place and do a certain thing in order to survive the purification. The first 2 times they were told to go into the earth and join the ant people. And the third time. What?
Your name David? No.
Yes.
Good.
Stephen.
No. Morris.
No. You're playing with me.
I am.
Trying to remember this brother's name here, and he's playing with me.
Name.
I said this, but I'm doing my live stream, which I forgot to put my sign up for.
You said brothers?
I said this brother's name. I was talking to folks on the I do a live stream.
Oh,
And,
really? Where? You have a camera? Oh no.
yeah,
You
on the computer. So
you have a website?
yeah. I have a channel on YouTube.
Terrific.
Thanks.
I should be able to find you without any more information. Something like Boardwalk. Oh, look at that. Nice, nice, nice.
So,
Boardwalk artist would probably do it.
no, not really.
That would be my first try.
Yeah.
Second try would be 615 Oceanfront Walk.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, David. Boardwalk.
David Alexander English.
Nothing about the boardwalk.
Well, if you did a search for Venice Beach, it would come up. I don't actually put boardwalk.
With a million others.
Hey, that's the way it goes.
That's okay.
Okay. Where was I?
Well, did you see the big helicopter? I was at Albertson's Market a few minutes ago.
Okay.
5 very polished government helicopters
Oh, that's
left this Biden.
yeah, it's Joe Biden.
It's about, yeah. Okay. D.A. English. Is that it?
Yeah, as in English. Yep.
Take a look.
Alrighty, you take a look.
Can I communicate with you from that website? No, it's just a video.
Yeah, you can communicate with me through that, but I have my name is my davidalexanderenglish.com or daenglish.com.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, Joe Biden was just here, I guess, in LA. And within the hour. So I guess people saw the helicopters. That's what that's all about. So what I was saying is, according to the oral tradition, the nephew of the Great Spirit, having, destroyed the world 3 times previously, each time he told those who remember to keep the tops of their heads open to the rest of the universe to go to a certain place and do a certain thing in order to survive the purification. First 2 times they were told to go into the earth and join the ant people. And the third time they were told to go to a mountaintop where they watched the floodwaters come and the floodwaters recede. And they were told to build these rafts and head off in a certain direction. Well, eventually, they landed on North America and they began their migrations to the edges of the landmass and so forth. And in 1993, I discovered what I thought was a place where they made their emergence into the fourth world, this being the fourth world to them because of those 3 previous world destructions. Now there was in their prophecy, there is also they say that there will be 7 worlds, and that we are, you know, there were certain signs that would occur at the end of the fourth world age, and that you know, it's some of those signs have already manifested. In fact, a fair number of them have manifested. And you know, I talk about all of this is kind of fast forwarding through a lot of the information that's in the Emergence Beyond 2012 movie. You can watch it free on YouTube. That I did a book version of it, which is basically a straight transcript of the movie with all the visual images, all 300 visual images in the same order as they appear in the movie. And where I actually spent a summer typing out the transcript of the movie. So it's, you know, it's just 100 pages, and a copy of it. So this is my dog-eared copy of the book. This is what the movie looks like. Emergence Beyond 2012. And this is what the book looks like, minus the dog earring and mold and whatnot. So you get an idea. This is the first site I discovered, and then, you know, this is the second site I discovered. And since this book came out, I discovered a third site adjacent to the second site. And they're all within 5 miles of one another. So, what was it, 2000, the movie came out in 2010. A year later, the universe said to make it free, so I put it on YouTube. But in the spring of 2011, I think it was in the spring of 2011, it was either 2011 or 2012. I think it was the spring of 2012. I was told, yes, it was 2012, and I'll tell you why. There was the Venus transit and the eclipse, that annular solar eclipse that happened in June, a week apart from one another. And that figured pretty prominently in what transpired in my universe. So in the spring of 2012, I was here in LA doing a live screening of and Q&A of the Emergence Beyond 2012 movie. And there was this somebody during the Q&A, somebody said, "Oh, you know, there's so much information in this, I have to watch it again. You know, it's just overwhelming." And that's when I had the idea that I would make, you know, if I wrote it, you know, published a book version of the movie, then people could study it at the information at their leisure, you know. And of course, also a lot of the photographs, you know, I did an aerial survey and 2 ground surveys of those sites. And none of those photographs had ever been in print before. So, you know, doing it as a book would give me a chance to put them out in print, and also get a chance to look at it myself in my hands, you know, because I'd only seen them on cameras or on the computer or whatever, you know. So, and I felt at the time that it was important for as many people as could to get eyes on this and see what you know, see what we could all figure out about it. And that's one of the main reasons why I put it out there. I shared it for free, just to get the word out. So there was no profit motive involved, because I don't know that I ever, while I may have sold a couple copies or whatever, it never came close to paying or recouping what it cost to make the movie, and that was never the focus. So actually, the reason why I made the movie was because there were some folks that were interested in pitching the story to the Discovery Channel here in LA, or the History Channel, and before things got too out of hand, I wanted to record everything that I knew about the whole story, So the very next day, this is August of 2009, I think, I set up a camera and started and interviewed myself and just said everything that I knew about it in 2 hours into the camera, and then used that as the basis for what ended up being a 90-minute documentary. And it was a very humbling experience, because what I had to do was ultimately edit out all the ahs and the and the long pauses and all that kind of stuff. And that was like, just editing all that out was about 20 minutes. So, and the knows, edit out all the knows. So it was I learned a lot from the experience. It took me, I shot the movie, in 2 hours on August 10th. And then I think it was by February, the movie came out, that following February. So for about approximately 4.5 months, 5 months, I shot the movie in 2 hours and spent 5 months editing it. So, but anyway, where's it going with all that? I want to talk about what I've recently discovered, what's been discovered since these projects came to fruition. That spring, when I decided that I was going to make the book version of the movie, a week later I watched Astral City. And if you haven't watched that movie, you may, if you watch this show very much, you may hear me mention that to people all the time, because I think it's one of the most important movies ever made. The story it tells the story of this Brazilian doctor that died in the 1920s of a stomach ailment. And the story begins when he wakes up on the other side. And it covers the time period between when he died in the 20s until he channeled the work to a Brazilian medium in 1943. So it's his experience from the mid-20s until 1943 on the astral plane. Blew my mind, still blowing my mind. And you can watch it for free on Hulu. And you can, once you watch it, you're probably going to want to download there's a free PDF version of the book, English translation of the book. If you put in Astral City free PDF into Google, it'll come up, and you're going to want to read that because they basically put this book into a 2-hour movie, and there's because it's very true to the book, but there are some questions that are going to come up, like for me, that came up, that when you read the book, it really fleshes it out and answers those questions pretty succinctly and profoundly. So that was the right after deciding I was going to do a book version of my own movie. A week later, I see that, and then around that same time, I'd gotten a communication from this brother named Rory McQuestion, who lives in England, southern England. He used to live really close to Avebury Stone Circle and Silbury Hill. I think he just recently moved from there, but he moved there intentionally. He moved there specifically to be close to these ancient, Neolithic sites, power spots. And his intention was to understand, to get a firm grasp of the ancient earth energy system that our ancestors worked with and modified. And what you should know is this ancient system is still working. And there are, only a handful, relatively given that there's over 7 billion people on the planet, I would say less than 1,000 people know about it, or have any kind of working knowledge of it. Less than 1,000 people on the planet know about it, which is crazy, because it affects everybody. And it can, if more people knew about it, then it would change the way, we would change the way that we structure our world. We would do the same thing that the ancients did, which was to structure their world and their communities and their buildings and their way of life around a harmonious interaction with this earth, with the earth grid, and with earth energy in general. And that's what's really interesting to me, is that there's a pigeon. How you doing? What's going on? Got nothing for you. Pigeons are so amazing, when they're walking around, and then they can fly, and they're just. Have you ever seen a pigeon fly in slow motion? It'll blow you away. It blows me away.
And that same place, and then that part of the air that
So, around the time that I decided to do the book version of the Emergence movie, I got a contact from my friend Rory McQuestion. Now, Rory and I had met on top of Silbury Hill on the afternoon of the autumnal equinox of 1999 in the rain. And our meeting was such that I was with 2 women, and the 3 of us were standing up on top of, we had just, climbed Silbury Hill in the rain. We just got to the top and we walked to the center, and Rory came walking up from the other side and we just started talking like we had just, we were in the middle of a conversation, you know, and our conversation was all about, you know, earth energy and all this sort of stuff. And he's the one that told me about, you know, the heart math information, you know, about how we create our own realities, and how you know, when a critical mass of people share an idea, that it can literally change the world. Like you can, with instruments, you can see a change in the collective human unconscious. Like the example that he gave me at the time, this was, remember, was the O.J. Simpson trial verdict affected the they had these random number generator computers running random number generators, and they were not networked. They were all over the world, and this experiment had been running for more than a decade at that point. And when the day that the O.J. Simpson trial verdict was announced, all the random number generators all over the world started to generate the same sequence of numbers. Okay, there have been several times since this experiment has been, these folks doing research into string theory and whatnot, quantum mechanics. There have been several times when this has occurred, and another time was September 9th, 2001, 2 days before September 11th. They started to generate the same number sequences. And, that says, that to me, when I found that out, the first time I was, certainly blown away. And the second time, when I discovered that thing about September 9th, not September 11th, but 2 days before, that said that there was a whole nother thing going on here, But the first time, it was when Rory told me about it on top of Silbury Hill, right? And so we ended up going into town, going into Avebury for lunch and talking through lunch, and we didn't stay. But in that conversation, when he told me about the O.J. Simpson thing, I said to him, it's too bad that it we don't use that to do something really positive, And he said, like what? And that's when I told him about this idea, a Conscious Evolution Day idea, where you would have people all do a specific meditation on consciously evolving, intentionally focusing on consciously evolving. At the same time, let's say, either at noon or at sunset or at midnight or whatever. Let's say that it's what it ended up being was at sunset. And so for the 4 years leading up to 2012, December 21st, 2012, I, focalized this Global Conscious Evolution Day meditation based on this idea of creating a wave of people meditating that went around the world as the sun set, basically as the earth rotated towards the east and the sun disappeared over the western horizon, wherever the heck you were, And I did this working with Rory, because he had done some research into the Earth grid. And this research discovered some pretty friggin' amazing things that I'm going to share with you now, that you need to share with as many people as you can. Okay. He wrote a book about his research, and he told me about it around the same time that I decided I was going to write the book version of Emergence Beyond 2012. He told me that he published it, and that he wanted my email address to send me a copy. I mean, he wanted my snail mail address so he could send me a copy. And so he did. He sent me this copy of this book. And when I opened up the book, I saw my name was in there. I was like, wow, that's way cool, you know. And I just thought it was a, you know, an acknowledgement, you know. So I was kind of busy with my own project, so I didn't actually have time at the time to read other books outside of the information that I was studying. So I just kind of, you know, tossed the book in the back of the bus, and that was that. And then, like I said, I started doing these for the solstice of 2008, just a few days before the solstice. The universe said, you need to create a Facebook page called The Great Company of Souls. And so I did that. And then once it was created, I said, so what? And then the universe said, you need to create an event called Conscious Evolution Day, and where people will meditate at sunset on the solstice, the winter solstice. And so I did that. And there were, you know, somewhere over 15,000 people globally did that meditation. I mean, there's no way of knowing how many people, but there were over 15,000 respondents to the invitation. And when that was done, and I was here on the beach, and I did the meditation, and that week, once the invitation went out, I started to experience this energy, and I realized that the specific kind of energy that it was an amazing energy, but it had a character that was very unique. I'd never experienced anything like it before, and it just it grew and it grew and it grew until that day when the meditation took place. And I realized later, in analyzing it later, I realized that what it was is that I was the focal point, the only focal point, you know, physical, identifiable focal point of that information that went out as an invitation for people to meditate on a specific. So people were thinking about me. Their thought, you know, because thoughts are real things, right, metaphysically and in the astral plane. And so I was getting people from all over the world thinking about me, and those thoughts were basically filling up my energy field. And it was an amazing, and it was for a good reason, you know, it was for a positive thing. So I was getting all these positive thoughts in my energy field, and it was very overwhelming, you know. You know, that, well, like I said, that was in retrospect, I figured it out, but at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was the meditation. You know, I didn't associate it with anything specific to, I didn't realize people were focusing on me. And so the meditation went off, and then the universe said, you need to do this again for the new year. You need to do one at sunset and one at midnight. and then you need to announce that you need to create the Conscious Evolution Day Facebook page. I was like, I was actually in the middle of doing the, working to get the Master Almanac out. So I didn't have a whole lot of free time. I was like, working 18 hours a day on that project, that book project. And so, this is December of 2008. And, but I did what the universe said to do. And then I realized that it was, it was going to be 4 years till the December 21st, 2012 thing, and that it would be really good to continue and actually publish the dates for the meditations in the next years. If we did the solstices and equinoxes and the halfway points between them, did the same meditation, did a Conscious Evolution Day meditation in those dates. So I published that in both the Master Almanac and on the creation of the Conscious Evolution Day Facebook page, and on the Great Company of Souls Facebook page. And I published the dates and the bigger picture, which would be that we would attempt to increase the number and the frequency of those meditations leading up to December 21st, 2012. And so the next year we did, the solstices and equinoxes and the halfway points, and then we did the full moons, and the next year we did the new moons, and then the equinoxes, the halfway points, the full moons, the new moons, and then every Friday. So by the end, we ended up doing something like 70 different meditations throughout and the whole idea was to accelerate this wave of conscious evolution as it went around the world, and it worked, and I have to say, I was really glad that we did it, and I was glad when it was over, because it was a lot of work to sending out invitations before all of those, and publishing it, and publishing on the websites, and publishing it on my own websites, and it was a lot. And but I did it for 4 years, and I completed my commitment and all that. But towards the end, the last 2 years, Rory, we'd been out of touch for a couple of years, and I suddenly heard from Rory, and he shared with me this research that he had been doing into the ley lines and earth energies. Primarily, as it turned out, what I discovered is he had been basically creating a map of the ley lines of England, and in so doing, he had pretty much just rediscovered, what the ancients knew, and ultimately, he published all that in this book, and the book is called the wisdom. Oh, the secrets. The secrets of the ancients. The secrets of the ancients. Sorry, Rory, I love you, bro. What's the name? I'll start telling you about it, and then it'll come to me. The ancient secret. Yeah. Okay, so he sent me a copy of the book, and I put it away, and then I was in the middle of writing, sending out an invitation for in May for the cross quarter day, the May Day meditation that we would have. and I posted it on my Facebook page, and he sent me a message and a comment that said, you know, there's the energy is really powerful right now, but it's going to be even more powerful on thus and such a date, you know. And I was like, how do you know that, you know? And he was very kind, generous, and he explained in detail how he knew that. And then at the end of this long email, he said, and everything I just said to you is in the book that I sent you. So I had to read the book, you know, and I was like, oh, okay. So the following week was when there was that annular eclipse up in northern California and into Nevada, and I actually flew up. You wouldn't be able to see the annularity, the path of annularity, down here in LA. So and I'd never seen an annular eclipse, and an annular eclipse is really cool because what you see when the moon moves in front of the sun, the moon doesn't cover the sun like in a total solar eclipse. The moon is closer to the sun and further away from the earth, and so you end up seeing this ring of light around the moon. So you see this black thing in front of this brilliant light around it. You know, it looks like a donut of light. It's incredible. It's easily one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Next to a total solar eclipse. The total solar eclipse it is amazing, I have to say. In case you've never seen one, I'll explain what it looks like. When you see a total solar eclipse, there is a band of night that goes across the sky. Literally, you can see the planets and the stars. And then you look over there, and it's daylight. And you look over there, and it's daylight. And right overhead, if you're in the path of totality, it's nighttime. And the sun, when the moon covers the sun, it's completely black. You see, the sun is the black sun. It's, you know, and it can last for, you know, anywhere from just a few seconds to, you know, up to 6 minutes or more, depending. All the eclipses are different, and they have a cycle of something like 1,500 years. The whole planet is covered in paths of these long paths of eclipses, but it takes 1,500 years for the same eclipse to repeat itself. You know, approximately 1,500 years, and that 1,500-year cycle. You know, these different paths, they all have numbers. They're called the Soros cycle, and these eclipses, they happen in like there's patterns that connect them all, and they call it they're like families of eclipses and whatnot. You know, but roughly, you know, total solar eclipse or an annular solar eclipse happens every 18 months or so. And so anyway, I flew up. I took the time off from the boardwalk, and I flew up to see the eclipse. And I took his book, and that weekend I read his book cover to cover, and I was blown away. And the essence of it is that everybody knows The Secret. You know, The Secret, the movie called The Secret, the book called The Secret, right? And the essence of that was that, you know, we create our own reality. And unfortunately, what people discovered was when they tried the information that was in The Secret, in the movie, in the book, was that it didn't work all the time. And for some people, it didn't work at all. And so, you know, everybody may have that book or that movie on their shelf, but it's, you know, now it's pretty much forgotten. Some people have some great stories about what they were able to manifest and whatnot, but they obviously weren't able to manifest, you know, what they wanted all the time. So with Rory's information was that, oh, I know. The name of his book is The Key to the Secret of the Ancients. So that's The Key to the Secret of the Ancients. And I think it's on Amazon. You can definitely Google it. And he wrote it anonymously. I mean, he published it anonymously. And it's an incredible book, incredible body of information. And the essence of it is this. When people studied the secret, what they were missing were two things, right? The key to the secret of the ancients is, yes, we create our own reality. You know, thoughts are real things and that. However, the key is to employ that bit of magic, so to speak, those techniques of, you know, creating your own reality, employ them at the right place and at the right time, right? That's the key, is to do it at the right place and at the right time. So the question is, like, where is the right place and when is the right time, right? Well, the right place, as it turns out, that Rory discovered, is where any two or more ley lines cross, where any two earth energy lines cross. That's where they cross is called a node or a nodal point, right? And I'm going to put on a top here. Purple. Some purple. And so that's the where. The where is where any two or more earth energy. And the when is really interesting. Let me talk a little bit more about the where. So what in living by, let me tell you a little bit about Rory's research. In living by Silbury Hill and Avebury Stone Circle. Avebury Stone Circle is the largest stone circle in the world. And, you know, it goes back at least 5,000 years. And Silbury Hill is a man-made flat-topped cone structure, like a pyramid. And it's covered in grass, but underneath is I think limestone that is handcrafted limestone. And what's really bizarre, if you've ever been there, is that you have this essentially a platform, a conic platform, overlooking these fields that are these fields are a place where a lot of crop circles show up, like the big crop circle phenomenon. You see a lot of those showing up right in the fields right there. I'd say it's probably one of the most crop circle places on the planet, and it's obvious that whoever built that Silbury Hill is part of a greater ceremonial and sacred precinct of sacred sites, because a quarter mile away is West Kennet Lawn Barrow, which is a man-made cave where they stored the bones of they're important people. They didn't bury it. It wasn't their final place. It was just a place where they stored the bones. And the reason they stored the bones there was so that they could run earth energy lines into the cave and through their bones, and thus have direct access to those souls on the other side. This isn't, when you think about, this isn't some hocus pocus, you know, superstition. This is ancient temple science. And modern science is beginning to catch up, is playing catch up on this one. So Rory, living close to Silbury Hill and West Kennet Long Barrow and Avebury Stone Circle. Well, I didn't finish. What's unique about Silbury Hill is so if this is Silbury Hill, right behind it is a natural hill that's even higher. So why would you put this cone right next to, if you were just trying to look over the landscape, you've got a hill that's even higher than that, literally directly behind it. So, you know, what was that all about? Well, I'm not going to answer that question. I don't have the answer, but I will tell you that there's 2 chambers inside of Silbury Hill that have been discovered. And, you know, supposedly people don't know what they're for, but if you study how this technology works, you know that certain kinds of ley line energy are attracted to resonant cavities, like they're attracted to the cave. That West Kennet Long Barrow is a cave, man-made cave, and there's 5 alcoves in that cave, and water flowing in that cave. And water and resonant cavities like caves are what certain types of ley line energy, earth energy, are attracted to. And so it's not very surprising that there would be 2 caves, essentially, inside, or chambers inside of this man-made conic pyramid-like structure. So Rory, for a year and a half at least, he monitored the flow of the ley lines that move around that whole area every day for a year and a half. So what he discovered is that there are smaller ley lines. Basically, the way that he delineated what makes this ley line different than that ley line and different than that ley line is the width, the wavelength, and I guess the amplitude, right? Amplitude meaning that how far it takes for a wave to go sine, cosine, right? And the width that it goes from this side to that side is the basic designation we use. So while there are the smaller the wavelength and amplitude, the more numerous, there are a whole lot more of like, you know, 3 feet wide lines than there are 50-foot wide lines, right? But the major wide lines are 5-foot wide, 10-foot wide, 20-foot wide, 30-foot wide, and 50-foot wide lines. And one of the most important things he discovered is that all ley lines travel in pairs. So if there's a 30-foot wide line here, there's got to be a parallel 30-foot wide line on either side of it. And wherever one goes, the other one will go with it. right? So what he discovered is that there are 50 pace wide lines. There's 3 sets of them, and those are the largest ones on the planet. And so you can imagine where those 50 pace wide lines cross are pretty powerful places, right? There are 30 pace wide lines, 20 pace wide lines, 10 pace wide lines. You know, of course, the smaller the width gets, the less powerful they become, but they're still pretty friggin' powerful. And so about, you know, in the area that he was, there were everything up to 30 pace wide lines. The only thing that wasn't was the 50 pace wide lines. And so he was able to monitor them all for that year and a half. And what he discovered is that there are certain times in the year when all the frequencies of ley lines they're all resonating at the same frequency, all of them. And those times happen to coincide with astronomical events like solstices and equinoxes, and what are known as the cross quarter days, which are the halfway points between the solstices and the equinoxes. And they also, there are some where not all of them, but the majority of them, there are some days when not all of the ley lines are in harmony, but the majority of them. Let's say like all the 5, 10, 15, 20s are all resonating at the same frequency. But not the 30s or the 50s, you know? And that's still a pretty powerful time. And often they will lead up to, you'll have days like that where not all of them are in harmony, but they lead up to one day when they all are, you know?
No, you didn't.
Hello.
Did you do like this? I was like, oh my God.
So as far as the key to the secret, you know, employing when is the time to make your prayer, where you state your intention for something to manifest, manifesting reality, which is, you know, the essence of the secret information, right? Or the information that's included in the secret movie and book. You would want to make your prayer at a place where 2 sets of ley lines cross, and at a time when they're resonating in the same frequency, right? One of the things, when he was first formulating this information, you know, he came up with all these dates and whatnot. He sent me a copy of it, and I'm an astrologer, so I looked at it, and I immediately saw a pattern. And I saw that it correlated to cross-quarter days and equinoxes and solstices and everything, but also I would say more than half of the days that he listed, you know, because he sent me a printout of all the days in a year. I think the first time he sent it was all the days in 2009, right? And so there's 360 days, and then he marked off, you know, which days there were you know, more than 2 sets of ley line were in harmony. And what I noticed was that more than half of the time that they were in harmony was at the half moon. And that told me that there's a term that we don't use anymore that was once a pretty important term, and that is a fortnight. Which means basically a 2-week period. And you know, it's interesting to me that you know, the ancients obviously would have known the importance of the half moon, both the, you know, what we call the waxing and waning half moon. And I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was waxing or waning that was more prevalent, but I think it may have actually been the waxing half moon was more often when the ley lines were in harmony. But I think it's interesting that that's gotten completely lost. So Rory sends me the book, and I read the book finally, and I get the bigger picture. And you know, I saw the eclipse, and that a week, you know, a couple of days later, there was the Venus transit, where Venus crossed in front of the sun, and that was a very powerful time for me as well. And essentially, the whole idea of doing the book it got huge. So I decided I would divide it into two books. And the first book would be a straight transcript of the movie. And so that summer I spent the time, I did the book. I just did a straight transcript of the movie. And then everything else, all this new information that was percolating, would be in the second book, because I knew it was going to take a long time, a lot of research to pull that together. Because this is, you know, stuff that I didn't even, you know, I had no idea where it was going at the time. And so that was, you know, the summer of 2012, and the fall of 2012, I think it was when I published the book version of the Emergence Beyond 2012. And I called it Emergence Beyond Book 1. And so we're almost out of battery, so I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit. Basically, the project just got huge, and I had all I could do to keep from delving deeper into all this new information before finishing the book. But I finished and published, you know, the book 1 that fall, and then I actually got about 40 pages done on book 2, and the whole project got wiped out of the computer. And that was like, okay, universe, I guess you wanted me to slow down, right? And sure enough, you know, within a year, I started to have all these experiences with different people's mortality. And, you know, Kelly Phipps, the person I learned astrology from, being one of them, and his brother just now, and my sister's husband. And this sister that I know in New York, whose husband died of a heroin overdose, contacted me out of the blue, and she turned me on to Robert Monroe's work having to do with astral projection and out-of-body experiences and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of set me on honestly, it kind of added a whole nother dimension to Rory's information, because I began to see, in a nutshell, if I can kind of cut to my own friggin' chase here, is that to the ancients, our ancestors, had a more common understanding of the connection between the earth plane and a more working experience between the Earth plane and all the other astral planes that are in direct relationship to the Earth. And essentially, I feel that that's what the Aboriginals' concept of the dream time is, because they don't separate the Earth plane from these other planes. It's all connected. It's not, for some reason, the universe has made it so that for the past 2,000 years, the majority of the population of the world has been losing its connection with the astral planes, losing its conscious connection to the astral planes, the energy planes that are beyond the physical plane, to the point where we now think that it's, until recently, at one point people would be like, stoning you to death if you were even talking about it or even thinking about it. And, the whole Salem witch trials and all that kind of stuff, that kind of witch hunting stuff is still going on here on this planet. And it's ludicrous, because it's obvious that basically we're all extraterrestrials. We know that we come from someplace else. And when we're done here, we go someplace else. We may not know where that is, but we know that this is not all there is. We like to pretend, we like to think that this is all there is. But we know the truth is we don't know that this is all there is. And from the research that I've been doing, it's obvious, that there's more. The Emergence Beyond 2012 information kind of led me in the direction of Rory's information, and of the ancient Earth grid, and the key to the secrets of the ancients, right? And that led me into Rob Monroe's work and the studies that I've been doing into astral projection and whatnot, and how that relates to people's mortality, and along the way, I got to focus on something that I've always wanted to understand, which is what the heck are we doing here? What the heck is really going on here? That's been my focus, and I was able to articulate it. The more research that I did, like into Rory's information and the Hopi information, and these archaeological, like why me? Why was I shown those archaeological sites? And the story behind it, the story of these ancient destructions of the planet, where humanity was nearly wiped out, but survived. And in these tellings of these stories, in this oral tradition, it's obvious that whoever passed it down from when it happened, they were eyewitnesses to incredible calamities that show. They talk about how the Earth rolled over twice, and during the not this last destruction, but the destruction that happened 41,000 years ago, the Earth rolled over twice, and wandered through space. The mountains fell into the ocean. The seas flopped over the land, and then the Earth froze for years. Okay, so it wasn't until 2 years ago that we discovered that there had been a polar shift, a magnetic pole shift that happened 41,000 years ago, and that it lasted for 440 years, and they tell us that, that the magnetic pole is zero, because they say that the whole thing started when the twins left their station at the poles. So essentially the magnetic poles went to zero. And that is, if you're thinking that the ancients knew less than we do, that's obviously not true, because the average person doesn't know about magnetic fields and the magnetic pole. They don't know the difference between most people don't know that there isn't usually a star at the North Pole. You know, that there's only 4 times in 26,000 years that there's a star at the North Pole, and we just happen to live at one of those points, you know. And of course, 12,000 years ago, there was when the last destruction happened, there was you know, Vega was the pole star, you know, and in 12,000 years it will be again. You know, most people don't know this stuff, but the ancients knew all about it. You know, our ancestors knew all about it because our ancestors were us. Anyway, we're almost out. I'm almost out of juice, and I think I've talked long enough for now. So, yeah, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to get a hold of me, and I'll probably carry on some more ramblings tomorrow. So, until then, I need to pack up because it's almost sunset, and yes. So, there we go. Where are we going? Oh, there we go. All right. Once again, thanks for listening. And remember, we love you.